Hey everyone, and welcome. So, today we're going to dive into something pretty amazing, a 2,500-year-old blueprint for how to think clearly. It's called India's Nyaya Shastra. We're going to explore this incredible system of logic, and we'll be pulling our insights from the work of Professor K. Ramasubramanian and, of course, the original text itself, the Nyaya Sutras. You know, Professor Ramasubramanian really hits the nail on the head for our modern world with this quote. He says, processing the information is what is value. Think about it. We're drowning in data. He argues the real skill today isn't just getting more information, it's about actually making sense of it all. I mean, we are just swimming in opinions, data, and let's be honest, a lot of really flawed arguments online. It brings up a huge question, right? How do we, in the middle of all this noise, actually learn to think clearly? Well, the answer might just come from a science of logic that's way older than you'd think. And that is where Nyaya Shastra comes in. In some of the earliest texts, this whole discipline was called Varko Vakyam, which basically means the science of logical argumentation. You can think of it as a toolkit, one that helps you build solid arguments and, just as importantly, take apart the faulty ones. So what is Nyaya Shastra exactly? Well, it's a whole philosophical system. It covers logic, epistemology, which is just a fancy way of saying the theory of knowledge or how we know what we know, and even the art of debate. And it was all first put into a system by the sage Gautama about 2,500 years ago. But what's really incredible about Nyaya is how this knowledge is organized. The main text, the Nyaya Sutra, isn't just a random collection of ideas. Oh no, it is an incredibly detailed blueprint of thought, and it's structured with almost like a mathematical precision. And that structure is perfectly hierarchical. It all starts with the smallest possible unit, a pada, which is just a word. A few words come together to form a sutra, which is like a short, powerful rule or aphorism. A bunch of sutras about one thing become a prakarana, or a topic. And then those topics build up into lessons, which build into chapters, and finally the whole thing comes together as the complete shastra, the entire science. I mean, it literally builds an entire worldview from a single word. How cool is that? And get this, the entire foundational text from Gautama is made up of only about 530 of these sutras. That's it. It is unbelievably compact. And that is so important because these sutras are so incredibly short and dense, a quality known as alpaksharam. You can't just pick up the book and read it. To really understand them, you need commentaries. You need a living tradition of knowledge passed down from a teacher to a student to unlock what's packed inside. And that, of course, leads us right to the great commentary tradition. The Nyaya system developed this amazing thing called the Panchagranthi, which is a lineage of 5 absolutely essential commentaries, where each great thinker built on the work of the person before them. So here's that incredible lineage. It all starts with Gautama, the Sutrakara. He's the one who wrote the original sutras. Then comes Vatsyana, who wrote the first major commentary, the Bhashya. After him, you have Bhujotakara, Vajaspati Mishra, and Udayanacharya, each one adding another brilliant layer of analysis over hundreds and hundreds of years. But why? Why spend centuries on this? Well, a quote from one of those commentators, Bhujotakara, tells us everything. He wrote that this science was created for the shama, or the well-being, of the entire world. And its goal was to get rid of the false knowledge being spread by kutarkikas, or what we would call bad logicians. It was literally designed to bring harmony and truth. And I love this part. Bhujotakara had this brilliant and, honestly, super relatable way of classifying people who are seeking knowledge. He asks, are you a pratipanaha, someone who's actually understood? And apratipanaha, someone who just hasn't gotten it yet? A sandigdhaha, who's feeling doubtful? Or, and this is a big one, are you a viparyastaha, someone who has understood wrongly, maybe twisting an idea to fit what you already believe? We've all been in each of these spots, right? But here's the thing. This super rigorous system of logic, it's not just about winning debates or sounding smart. The ultimate goal of Nyaya goes way, way beyond that. It's something much deeper. To really get how important this was, you just have to look at the ancient text on politics and economics, Kautilya's Arthashastra. It calls Nyaya, which it also refers to as Anvikshiki, the lamp of all sciences, the means for all actions, and the support of all duties. So, in other words, it's seen as the absolute foundation for a good life and a well-run society.
And that's because Nyaya is a tool designed to help you achieve Shreyas, or spiritual prosperity, not just Prayas, which is all about material prosperity. Look, Prayas is our natural default mode, right? Chasing worldly things, possessions, pleasure. But Shreyas is a conscious choice to aim for something higher, the greatest good, universal well-being, and your own personal evolution. When you boil it all down, the entire system is designed to tackle one single problem: mithya jnana. This basically means false knowledge or delusion. According to the Naya worldview, this delusion is the root cause of all our suffering, all our dukkha, and it's the one thing that stops us from reaching that highest good.
Okay, so what does all this ancient stuff have to do with us right now in the 21st century? Well, let's bring it all home.
Now consider this quote from a pretty popular modern business book. Why do you want? I want because I want. The philosophy here is that we don't need to justify our desires at all. Well, from a Nyaya perspective, this is a perfect example of mithya jnana. It's the delusion that our most basic, unexamined wants are the ultimate truth, and that just blindly following them will somehow lead to happiness.
Nyaya Shastra offers a direct challenge to that whole way of thinking. It's a discipline of reasoned inquiry that pushes us to actually examine our impulses, to ask why we really want something, instead of just accepting our desires as a given. It's a framework for real self-awareness. And this is so critical because that kind of unchecked wanting, well, it can kick off a really destructive cycle of suffering. The initial wanting leads to flaunting what we get. That flaunting then haunts us and others with envy in this constant competition. And finally, the collective result of all of this, which we see in huge problems like climate change, becomes daunting for everyone. So this all leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? In our world of constant distraction, endless misinformation, and unsustainable desire, could a 2,500-year-old science of logic actually hold the key to our future well-being? It's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks so much for joining this explainer.